Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, talk number 91. A Bengali visitor asked, "How is the mind controlled?" Maharshi said, "What do you call the mind?" The devotee, "When I sit down to think of God, thoughts wander away to other objects. I want to control those thoughts." Maharshi said, "In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that it is the nature of the mind to wander. One must bring one's thoughts to bear on God. By long practice, the mind is controlled and made steady. The wavering of the mind is a weakness arising from the dispassion of its energy in the shape of thoughts. When one makes the mind stick to one's thought, the energy is conserved and the mind becomes stronger." The devotee then asked, "What is the meaning of the strength of the mind?" Maharshi, "Its ability to concentrate on one thought without being distracted." Devotee, "How is that achieved?" Maharshi said, "By practice. A devotee concentrates on God. A seeker, follower of the Gnana Marga, seeks the self. The practice is equally difficult for both." The devotee then asked, "Even if the mind is brought to bear on the search for the self, after a long struggle the mind begins to elude him and the man is not aware of the mischief until after some time." Maharshi said, "So it would be. In the earlier stages, the mind reverts to the search at long intervals. With continued practice, it reverts at short intervals until finally it does not wander at all. It is then that the dominant Shakti manifests. The Sattvic mind is free from thoughts, whereas the Rajasic mind is full of them. The Sattvic mind resolves into the life current." Devotee, can one keep the mind away from entering into the phase of thoughts before one experiences the current? Maharshi said, "Yes, the current is pre-existing." November 7th, 1935, talk number 92. A visitor said, "Some say that one should practice meditation on gross objects only. It may be disastrous if one constantly seeks to kill the mind." Maharshi said, "For whom is it disastrous? Can there be a disaster apart from the self? Unbroken I is the ocean infinite. The ego, I thought, remains only a bubble on it and is called the jiva, that is the individual soul. The bubble too is water. When it bursts, it only mixes in the ocean. When it remains a bubble, it is still a part of the ocean." Ignorant of this simple truth, innumerable methods under different denominations such as yoga, bhakti, karma, each again with modifications, are being taught with great skill and in intricate detail only to entice the seeker and confuse their minds. So also are the religions and sects and dogmas. What are they all for? Only for knowing the self. They are aids and practices required for knowing the self. Objects perceived by the senses are spoken as immediate knowledge, pratyaksha. Can anything be as direct as the self, always experienced without the aid of the senses? Sense perceptions can only be indirect knowledge and not direct knowledge. Only one's own awareness is direct knowledge, as is the common experience of one and all. No aids are needed to know one's own self, that is, to be aware. The one infinite, unbroken whole becomes aware of itself as I. This is its original name. All other names, example Om, or later growths, liberation is only to remain aware of the self. The Mahavakya, I am Brahman, is its authority. Though the I is always experienced, at one's attention has to be drawn to it. Though the I thought is always experienced, yet one's attention has to be drawn to it. Only then does the knowledge dawn, thus the need for the instruction of the Upanishads and of the wise sages.